In an organization whereby there are just a mere handful of employees, one can argue that therefore management of work output or performance by those employees would be simple. That can be true, but in an organization whereby the numbers are quite much more, how then managers ensure that they understand as well as assess the management of work output by those employees accordingly? The truth is that whether the number of employees is small or big, the manner in which the performance management as a phenomenon has developed requires a number of structured ways of doing it. We spoke about the development of a job description, which simply put, a document which outlines what is expected from an employee. Does it mean then, by virtue of having a job description, you'll be able to manage performance of your employees? Whilst the job description on its own is important, but it cannot be seen as a comprehensive tool to therefore manage performance within an organization. That is why within organizational development sphere, which is part of a human resource discipline, performance management has found its home, and over the years it has developed to what it is today. If you look at the history of performance management, it is said that it started long before World War I. But from the literature review, it is indicated that the formal performance management as we happen to know it today started in the 1960s. During those times, the focus was still more on the personality aspect of employees more than their comprehensive view of how they are suited to a particular job and what the output of their performance is. Years to come, a number of developments in the phenomenon happened. If you trace back late 1970s and for the past couple of years, 20 years, if one can put a number to it, there's been a lot of development in the sphere of performance management. At this day and age, we have seen tools being developed. At this day and age, we have seen frameworks being developed. At this day and age, we have seen comprehensive processes being developed focusing on performance management, especially in industries where work is done, maybe not much in terms of production of raw material or products as it were, but where services are a product of the day. I'll repeat that. Especially in industries whereby they are focusing on service delivery, management of performance can be much more challenged because you don't tend to see the actual product being developed in terms of hard and tangible, but you see a service being rendered. Now, therefore, one can ask, what is performance management in its entirety? Amongst the definitions that are available, I find this one quite comprehensive. Performance management can be defined as a continuous engagement or a process of continuous engagement between a line manager and an employee in ensuring that an employee understands clearly what is expected of him or her, as well as managers' ability to be able to assess and evaluate the output performed by a particular employee. So there are a number of aspects based or housed in that particular definition. Let's start from the first one, the continuous engagement. It appears therefore that performance management is not an event, but is a continuous process, or is a process of its own between a manager and an employee. Why is it important therefore that both of them need to engage continuously? On the basis that the work performed by an employee does not start and end within a limited period of time necessarily. It's a continuous engagement, it's a continuous delivery of a particular output by an employee. Therefore, the process needs to follow the same kind of pattern or a tone. On the basis that the employee has to perform certain duties during a particular period, e.g. a year or so, therefore the performance or the management of performance for that employee needs to be a continuous kind of an engagement. Now, where does it start? It starts from the time when a manager and an employee sit down, agreeing in terms of what is the focus for that particular employee in terms of the work output. Both the manager and the employee need to agree. Unlike a job description whereby the manager provides an employee what the work entails, the preparation of performance starts with the job agreement or job performance agreement, whereby both of them agree. Now, when they've agreed in terms of what exactly needs to be undertaken for that particular point in time, it is only fair, therefore, that both of them need to make sure that they sign the form of an agreement. That particular agreement serves as a contract as to what needs to be done, how to a certain extent need to be done, what output will be looked at, how it will be assessed, when it will be assessed, and most importantly, what will the employer assist the employee with in terms of skills development should there be a gap identified in terms of skill shortage. Now, you start to realize, therefore, that when we talk performance management, we're therefore not just talking about the document, but we are talking about the process of engagement between the two parties. The second point, what is expected from an employee? How best do you outline that in such a way that an employee is clearly on the know as what is expected from him or her? Earlier on, we spoke about the key performance areas. Yes, key performance areas. Those are enshrined in a job description. But is it enough, therefore, to outline what is expected from an employee? One may argue that it is, until a point where then you start to want to know what will be measured in terms of what would have been outlined for that particular employee. Now we're introducing a next key phrase, which is key performance indicators. Key performance indicators are none other than the indicators of measurement for particular output that would have been outlined for that particular employee. Let me simplify it for you. There's a key performance area. Under each key performance area, there are specific tasks or activities that will have to be performed by an employee. Next to each of those tasks or key performance, those tasks or activities, then there's a measure of how that particular output will be assessed at that particular point in time. That is when then the KPI come into being. So we don't have a KPA, or we don't have a KPI measuring a KPA. We've got a KPA, activities, and therefore KPIs against each and every activity. That is part of what the performance agreement will obviously include. To a large extent, based on this particular definition, one can read the focus being on the job output. Is this the only aspect of performance that needs to be measured or that need to be covered as part of performance management? Depending on the level of adoption as well as maturity within an organization, then it differs. For an example, some organizations will want to ensure that not only does performance output is measured, but also the alignment of organizational values by the particular employees. Now, these will differ from one organization to another. Organization, as part of their strategic objectives or strategy plan, they would outline values which guides the behavior by employees within an organization. During the engagement process, which is enshrined in our definition, it is therefore necessary to ascertain, assess, or evaluate whether the employee does indeed live by the particular values that have been defined by the organization. Therefore, it is necessary as part of a performance agreement to include values that are expected, clearly defined and understood by both parties as well. Now, the myriad or the element of how performance management is developed or how it is being adopted will vary from one organization to another, which is why, therefore, as Sobeto Consulting, we try to assist the organization by spending time with them to adopt performance management systems, because it appears that this is not a one-size-fits-all kind of a situation.